You're approaching 100.
Okay.
How did they all get unmuted? That's why you got to stand.
Oh, no, he robbed the cradle of you.
Are you on one of these? Yes.
Oh, we got the Zoom.
I'm trying, we're trying.
We got the production.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a new first name. Stream. Oh. Wait a minute.
You don't remember what Annette's name was?
Lane's very upset. She's not here because she thought.
Oh, here, now they can't unmute themselves. No.
Every other day it seems like she just had a very spot. Maybe something low nerve signs. We're not trying to talk about both of us.
But maybe that was why. Now you know that.
We'll see. We'll see.
Family and friends, we begin our service in Annette's memory. I'm Rabbi Eddie Sukal from the shul. We begin with these words from the 23rd Psalm, words of comfort and consolation. Adonai ro'i lo echsar binodeh sheyarbitzeni al mei menuchot v'nahaleni nafshi yeshover.
He muted himself, the rabbi did, when he was setting up, but I don't know why
Pardon me.
he's
We can hear you guys.
unmuting himself. Yes?
I'm wondering, what I might do is I might talk to the rabbi.
They're still on mute. Pretty sure. No, I'm not on mute.
We got the home shopping yet.
We said we were sure we heard Joe's voice.
Sorry about that. We're going to begin again. Hopefully all of you on Zoom can hear me, and you should be muted. If by chance you unmute, please remute yourselves, but I think I have you set to be muted, and you shouldn't be able to unmute yourselves, but somehow you are. We begin our service in Annette's memory with words of comfort from the 23rd Psalm. Adonai ro'i lo echsar binoteh sheyarbitzeni al mei menuchot yenahaleni nafshi yeshover yancheni b'ma'aklei tzedek lema'an shemo gam ki elech begeitz al mavet lo irava ki ata imadi shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged soverai Dishanta b'shemen roshi kosi rivaya ach tova v'chesed yedufuni kol yemei chayai V'shavti, v'shavti, b'veit Adonai, le'orech yamim. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. Ron and David and Shelley and Alice, and to all the family, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, to all of you. We know that you grieve in a darkened world today. Annette was granted a long life. She was blessed with length of days, and that truly is a blessing. And even still we grieve, and we grieve deeply. And we who have mourned know that you grieve in silence and sadness. That though you appreciate the wonderful life that Annette lived, this is still a time of sadness. We gather with you to comfort you, to console you, and also to call upon God on your behalf, that you might feel God's presence with you, and that this too might be a source of comfort. Annette was one of a very large family. Many siblings, most especially her twin sister, Alice. And this was a family that gathered together, that celebrated the simchas of life. And they were there for each other in times of difficulty and challenge. This was a family filled with love, and it still is. And that love lives on in all of you, beyond Annette's death. That love has brought you together over the years and brings you together now. And it is out of that love and an appreciation for the gift of years that Annette was granted that we reach deep into ourselves, not only to grieve, but also to find the strength to be grateful and to offer our gratitude for the gift of this wonderful life that was well and long lived. You are blessed with so many memories. Things that Annette said and things that she did that brought joy and smiles and laughter into your lives. Keep these memories foremost in your mind. I want to share two readings that were sent to me, two reflections really that were sent to me last evening. One from Chelsea. I want to share a few memories. When I was very young, my grandma used to come babysit me all the time. One memory that sticks with me, she's going to date Annette and herself right now. One memory that sticks with me is watching the Lawrence Welk show on TV and singing along and dancing to the songs and dancing on the couch which I'm assuming my parents wouldn't have been happy about. When she wasn't babysitting, I would also call her just to talk and make her play games with me on the phone. I made her play hide and seek with me, which didn't make a lot of sense on the phone, but I would make her guess what room I was in, and she would guess what room I was in. We would also play I Spy, and plenty of other games that she would humor me with, and stay on the phone for what felt like hours at the time. I also would say goodbye, and then we would go back and forth saying goodbye to see who would hang up first. When I was little, we spent a lot of time together, and was lucky we got to spend plenty of other birthdays, graduations, celebrations over the years. When my brother was born, she stayed over at our house to watch me, and I remember thinking it was the most exciting thing to do, to have a sleepover. And so naturally I planned activities for all of us to do. She also told me we would get fish and chips at Arthur Treacher's. And I was so excited to try it because she hyped it up so much. I probably wore her out, but she was always a good sport. And Chelsea, I want to thank you for this beautiful tribute. Our tradition teaches that words that come from the heart enter directly into the heart, and your words have done that. And Elaine sent me this. Annette was a very special person and meant so much to me. We had so many good times together over the years. Mom was hard to beat at mahjong and cards. She had a quick mind, but was always humble and generous. Annette was a voracious reader, and I'm sure her love of reading was passed on to Ron. That ends with an exclamation point. I'm not sure what that means exactly. I will miss her so much. She was not only my mother-in-law, but a very dear friend, too. I'm so glad she was an important part of my life. One of my most vivid memories was when I was so excited to make Mom and Dad a turkey dinner soon after Ron and I were married. Dad tried to carve it, but it appeared to be a tough old bird. He couldn't get the knife through it. We soon discovered that I had cooked the bird upside down. I ran crying into the bedroom out of sheer embarrassment. Mom was quick to comfort me with reassuring words. She said it was probably the best way to roast a turkey, since it kept the breast meat very tender and moist. At the time, it was tragic, but all these years later, I remember her effort to make light of the situation. I don't remember if the turkey was good or not, and no, I never roasted it upside down again. I hope these few words will impart how much she meant to me and our family. I will miss her. They say that children are our investment in the future. And Annette and her husband Isidore invested in that future. And Shelley and Ron and David, you created a family with your parents. You went on to find your own partners. And then you created your families, making your parents grandparents. And they say that if children are our investment in the future, grandchildren are the interest on that investment. And I hope I have the count right. But there are 7 grandchildren, some married, some not. And to Tavis, and some of you I think are here, and some I know are not here, Tavis and Evan and Chris and Nicole and Andrew and Chelsea and Colin and their spouses, Faye and Megan and Stacy and Eduardo. We offer our condolences to all of you. And if children are our investment in the future, and grandchildren the interest, then great-grandchildren must be some kind of wild compound interest. And if I have my numbers correct, and I hope I do, there are 9 great-grandchildren. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. It's not so much a family as a tribe. And Annette, she didn't have to tell you about the importance of family, devotion, and loyalty. She lived it, and she modeled it for you, just in the way she lived. And she loved spending time with her family. She and Isadore were social with family. There are many aspects of her life that are quite remarkable. She was incredibly smart and brilliant. I was going to say she was an avid game player, but I think ferocious might be a better word. And she was good at it, as Elaine mentioned and Ron mentioned to me. She was good at it. She liked to win, and she often won. Staying humble about it. She was an outstanding student. 4.0 in high school, 4.0 in business school. It wasn't clear to me, and I'm not sure it's clear to her children, why exactly she decided to learn to drive in her 30s, or at least to learn to drive a stick shift, but she did. That's an unusual thing for a woman in her 30s to do, and it certainly was in Annette's time. And while for many years she was working at home in the role of a traditional homemaker, rearing her children and her family, she was also trained in business and bookkeeping, and she did that for many years, going to work after the children weren't so little, retiring around age 70. And whether it was gin rummy or mahjong or other games, as we heard from Chelsea, even made up games, hide and seek over the phone, who ever heard of such a thing? She loved playing them because it gave her a way to interact with people and to be with her family and her friends. And of course, there was the solitary side of her. She loved to read. When we die, we take nothing material with us from this world. We leave everything material behind. And the rabbis of our tradition ask, what is it then that survives us, that has meaning? What is it that's the essence, that's really important, that we leave behind and that survives us? And they answer their own question this way: that in the way some people live, in the love they share, in the relationships that they create and sustain and build, in the way they live, they earn for themselves a Keter Shem Tov, a crown of a good name. That survives us. And for your sister and mother and grandmother, and whatever relation she was to you, whatever kind of friend you were to her, the crown of her good name, it's now bequeathed to you. It's part of the inheritance you receive from her. And you will carry the crown of her good name into the future. With every game that you play, and especially every game you win, you carry her crown and you honor her life. With every kind and gracious deed you perform for someone, or gentle word that you speak, or comfort that you offer to someone, with all of those things. You wear her crown, and you pay tribute to her memory. Zecher tzadeket livracha. The memory of a good and a righteous woman is forever a blessing to all who knew her and to all who loved her. Amen. O God, we turn to you in the face of death and ask the eternal questions that all people ask. What are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? It seems that our lives are like a breath. They're little more than a passing shadow, our days. We come and go like grass. In the morning it shoots up, and in the evening it fades and withers. You cause us to return to dust, saying, "Return, O you mortal creatures." If only we were wise and understood where we are going. But this we do know. Mark the wholehearted, behold the upright. They shall know true peace. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember Annette. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember her. So long as we live, we shall always remember her. O God, we call upon you now to be with those whose hearts are broken, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. We read in the book of Ecclesiastes that the eye never has its fill of seeing. Those who leave this earth never complete all of their tasks, never see enough of their world before they are called home. How they yearn for yet another respite from that final summons, and how we yearn to have them close to us for another joyous moment, another celebration. Console those who mourn. Be near to them even when your light seems distant. Sustain them, O God, till their time of healing. For the memorial prayer El Malei Rachamim through the Mourner's Kaddish, I'm going to ask those of you for whom it is easy to stand to please do so. Otherwise, you should feel free to remain seated. El Malei Rachamim Shochein Bamromi Amsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina Im Kedoshim Utehorim Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim Et Nishmata Shalcha Le'olama Began Eden Tehei Menuchata Ana Bal Harachamim Asdireha Beseter Kanafecha Le'olamim Vayitzror B'Yitzra Chayim et nishmata. Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava, v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Annette Sevel, for she has now entered eternity. O God of mercy, we pray, may Annette find refuge in your eternal presence, and may her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance, and we say, Amen. Jake, could we lower the
Rabbi, we're gonna need to move your device.
Am I in your way?
As we lower the casket to prepare to recite mourner's Kaddish, we offer these words. Atzor tamim po'olot ki kol drachav mishpat el emunah ve'einav el tzadik v'yashar. Atzor tamim b'chol po'el miyomar lo matifal. Hashalik b'mata u'b'ma'al me'mitu mechaye morid sha'al v'ya'al. Atzor tamim b'chol ma'aseh miyomar lo mata aseh. Tzadik ata Adonai lahamitu lahachayot asher biyadcha bikon kol ruchot. Chalila lecha zichornenu limchot. Vayiyu na einecha berachamim aleinu pikuchot. Ki lecha Adon harachamim v'haslichot. God is sure, our immovable rock. All God's work is upright. Who can say what is it that you do? For the Eternal governs what is above and what is below, overseeing both the valleys of death and the heights of life. God is sure, our immovable rock. You are righteous in your dealings in both death and life, and every soul, O God, is in your trust. Thank you. Al Mikomat Tavo B'Shalom, may Annette come to her eternal home in peace. It is a truism that early or late, all of us must answer the summons to return to the source of being. For we lose our hold on life when our time has come, as the leaf falls from the bough when its day is done. The deeds of the righteous enrich us all. The dust returns to the earth, the spirit lives on with God. Like the stars by day, our beloved dead are not seen by mortal eyes, and yet they shine on forever, for theirs is an eternal peace. Let us be thankful for the companionship that continues in a love stronger than death. Sanctifying God's name, we honor Annette's memory as we recite together the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad divrach hirutei v'yamlich mahutei, v'chayechon u'yomechon v'chayei b'chol Beit Yisrael, v'hagala u'bizman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olomei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei v'kudesha v'richu. Le'elam yitpal birchata v'shirata. Ushkachata v'nechamata, Da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, Chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, Uya aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Immediately following our service, the family will be returning to David and Nina's home to observe Shiva today, 3:30 to 6 p.m. and tomorrow again, 3:30 to 6 p.m. I suppose that may not be immediately after the service. Their home is at 635 Deepwoods Drive in Aurora. And for everyone here and for those online, the family has asked with great respect and love that if you are unvaccinated, to please call them or send a card, but to refrain from making an in-person visit if you are unvaccinated. In just a moment, we're going to conclude with the final ritual, which is fulfilling the mitzvah of Chesed Shel Emet, the final kindness that we can perform for one we love, and that is to place earth into their grave and to involve ourselves in their burial. Tradition recognizes that this is the most emotionally difficult mitzvah there is to perform, but it calls upon us to do so as a way to honor someone that we love and to pay tribute to their life and to their memory. I'm going to ask the children first, and Alice as well, and then grandchildren and other family and friends that are here. And as we fulfill this mitzvah, we offer these traditional words of consolation to all of you who mourn. Hamakom yenachem etchem b'toch shar ad le'Zion b'Yerushalayim. May God grant you comfort, and may you who mourn be comforted, along with all the mourners in Zion and Jerusalem and in our community. Amen. I will, in just a moment, open up the Zoom, unmute everyone for those who may wish to say hello to one another via Zoom. Jay, would you put this, just put it on top of that gravestone?
Yeah.
I'll come up and say hello.
I'm going to move it over to here. It's a little sturdier.